Joining us right now is former CIA senior intel officer, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer. Colonel Shaffer, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Give us your take on who you think might be a good fit to lead the Bureau.
Well, look, I like Trey Gowdy. Congressman Gowdy's done a great job in a number of issues, and I think I'll be honest, I think you need to have someone who's very aggressive to try to set a favorable course for the FBI. Based on the folks I've talked to on the inside, a lot of folks were very disappointed with James Comey while he was director because, again, talking to folks firsthand, face-to-face, they would bring to him problems, challenges, some of which were going back decades, and he just refused to deal with them in an adult way. So I think what we've seen on the outside, his kind of petulant here and there, putting his nose into things and then pulling back, was also going on the inside. So I think whoever is selected has to have a very steady hand, a clear understanding of the Bureau, how it functions, of the law, and how to actually bring about this Leviathan and move it in a very positive way. And I think Mr. Gowdy would have a good shot at that.
So, Colonel, I think I've heard many people, you know, I'm a pollster, and so I'm talking to a lot of voters who are concerned if they bring somebody in that's in politics, who is a politician, that they're not going to be able to be nonpartisan. They'd rather see somebody come in that's law and order and has experience with that. Do you think that Trey Gowdy would have a hard time coming in as a politician, or do you think the people really want to see somebody who's going to be nonpartisan, no political background?
It's a great question, and I think if you brought in a politician, just kind of someone who was liked by the president with no prior background or ability, then I think you would have that problem. Trey Gowdy is a former prosecutor. So as much as I would have concerns with someone, say, who came out of the food service industry, who then became a congressman, I don't see that with Congressman Gowdy. I think you have someone who's actually a very seasoned individual who has a lot of background in this, and frankly, I think he would understand what has to be done now to fix a lot of the things as a politician, having done oversight. So the oversight piece that he's done, plus his experience as a prosecutor, I think gives him some good credentials.
Colonel, this is Shelby Holliday. I have a question for you. I know that Democrats are certainly using this as an opportunity to gain some leverage and delay the GOP's agenda. We heard Senator Chuck Schumer this weekend, for example, say Democrats may not vote to confirm anyone if they're partisan and if there is no special prosecutor appointed. So do you think Republicans should keep that in mind as the White House is choosing an FBI replacement? Because they're in a time crunch. They do have a lot to get to in terms of tax reform, in terms of health care. And this FBI director situation is holding them up. Should they consider that?
No. Look, if I were the Republicans, I would plow straight ahead. I think if you can vote to confirm someone with just a simple majority, then just do it. I'd be done with Chuck Schumer and his nonsense. Let's be clear here. The Democrats were calling for Comey's head long before President Trump showed up. So it's amazing the duality of complete idiocy here, duality of idiocy with the Democrats, where they're actually doing things to undermine their own cause. So as far as I'm concerned, the Republicans have to be the adults in the room, go straight ahead, get this done. Comey had to go, he's gone, and move forward with the agenda. Don't let the Democrats get you off your game.
Right, but you know what? That's their main point, just resist and obstruct, and that's what they're doing. So we know that the Democrats wanted Comey out. They blame him for Hillary Clinton's loss. And yet right now they're all saying abuse of power, this, that, and Trump, you know, questioning the timing of it. So how is the president going to just not allow the noise to slow down the agenda? I mean, you know, Lee just making the point in the commercial break. We're all focused on all other things other than tax reform and health care reform.
Well, I think part of this, Maria, is that I think they have to continue to slam, to counter the other side's narrative. And you do that by being precise and continuous. The president, I think, has done a great job of distracting them off their own game. I mean, the whole tape thing he threw out there, I think it's got them off their game. I think that little bright, shiny object's got them all looking over here while he's actually trying to move forward. So I think they need to play essentially a better game of this than the Democrats, and I think they're starting to do that.
Can they do it, Lee?
You know, they would have to start getting some discipline, and right now there doesn't seem to be some clear discipline in the messaging coming out of the White House and with the GOP. I think what people need to do, I think the FBI director needs to be appointed, and they need to start going back to talking about what's most important to the American voter, which is health care, which is tax reform. This whole thing is a whole lot of smoke and mirrors. It's creating more of a narrative about Russia.
Right?
It's self-inflicted.
I think that's the big issue here.
True.
You know, you say that you think that it was a smart strategy to talk about the tapes. I say it's another 3-4 days we're talking about the tapes, not health care and tax reform. And that's actually going to delay the process of health care and tax reform. And the American people want to see results. They want to see things impact their pocketbooks, not this.
To get inside Donald Trump's head for a second, I mean, I guess he was trying to stop Jim Comey from leaking things. He's basically trying to you know, put it out there like, well, you know, maybe what you said to me about XYZ will get out there, given the fact that, you know, you're over there leaking the dinner to the New York Times. I mean, was that his goal, do you think, Colonel?
Yeah, I think that, yeah, absolutely. Look, we've known now, beyond a shadow of a doubt, there are leaks. I think James Comey, I think some other folks directly under Comey were probably leaking. So yeah. I think this is a way of trying to put a shot across the bow.
I wonder if the leaks stop now that he's gone.
Well, how much of that is self-inflicted? Because Donald Trump, when he fired James Comey, said, you know, on 3 separate occasions you've told me I'm not under investigation. Well, that prompts questions about what occasions, where were you, where did you tell him that he wasn't under investigation? That's how the dinner came up. Is Donald Trump, to Lee's point, creating smoke and mirrors that has everybody scrambling? Does Donald Trump need to be more careful about what he tweets?
I think he does what he does for purposes of throwing people in a certain direction. He knows the effects of his tweets. So I think there's a couple of things playing out here. First, Comey, I think, is a central figure of a lot of the leaks because he and his deputy were the ones, I think, giving, if they didn't leak, they gave it to folks who did. And so I think this is a way of kind of cutting that off. And frankly, I think whoever replaces Comey needs to be investigating Comey and his staff for the leaks.
So let's cut to the chase, really. What do you think the American people need to be concerned about here? Because people are not even sure what to be concerned about. Is it Russia? Is it that there was collusion? Is it that there was something nefarious going on? Is it that Comey wasn't doing his job? Is it about the leaks? What should the American people be focused on and be reassured by the time there's a new FBI director on Friday?
Russia's a threat. They're no good. Vladimir Putin's a thug, but they didn't have anything to do with undermining the elections. We're doing a thing on Capitol Hill today regarding election security. Jim Woolsey, former director of CNN, Russia had nothing to do with it. You need to be concerned about the fact that James Comey was politicizing everything about the FBI, both inside and out. And frankly, he did things to undermine security to the point of where we saw multiple terror attacks, Orlando, New York, San Bernardino, Boston, all under his watch. So he was completely incompetent in managing that part of the mission. And most importantly now, it looks like they were involved in unmasking U.S. citizens for purposes of political purposes, supporting a previous White House agenda. So those are the things I'm most concerned about. You need to find someone who's competent and able to manage the FBI in these difficult times to go forward from this point.
So do you think that we are going to see a new investigation on the unmasking and on the leakings?
Well, I certainly hope so. I was appalled when I saw Comey asked about this by Trey Gowdy. He said he's just not interested. Really?
Right.
It's like, you know.
But he is interested in the potential collusion between Trump and the Russians.
Precisely. It's a political narrative. Precisely.
Incredible.
So it's time we get past that.